the same way.
Hey, y'all. I'm here with my sister, Emily Guy Birkin, who does not use a hyphen.
And I'm here with my sister, Tracie Guy Decker, who does use a hyphen.
And together we are Lightbringers, where we illuminate the deeper meaning of the crime-solving devil TV show. And you bet your ass, we are overthinking it.
Bet your sweet Bippy.
We are so going to overthink it today. These are some juicy, juicy episodes.
Oh, they're thick. Yeah, we just spent like almost 15 minutes planning out what we're going to say.
I think it was more like 20. Yeah. So today, we're talking about 323 and 324, Quintessential Deckerstar, and Devil of My Word. And for those of you watching, usually like we both watch and then we get on and we just kind of have an unscripted conversation. We're still unscripted, but we did take some time to make sure that I actually took notes to make sure that we don't forget anything because there's so much.
So much. It's so good.
So much.
You just want to suck the marrow out of the bone of these episodes because they're so good.
Yeah. So usually we just kind of like see where the conversation takes us and more or less stay one episode to the other. I think we're going to treat these two as a whole and focus on a couple on characters, right? Like that's how we just laid it out when we were talking. So I actually think maybe,
do you want to start with Charlotte?
Yeah, I think maybe I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I feel her arc in just one of these two episodes, because I every time I rewatch, I forget that she's not here in Devil of My Word. I forget that happens early on, and because her shadow she casts such a long shadow over a Devil of My Word. We were texting each other back and forth as we were watching these episodes. And one of the things that we were talking about was when she was sitting on the bench at the end of Quintessential Deckerstar overlooking Los Angeles, like this is the closest I'll ever get to heaven. And Amenadiel is comforting her, even though he has just realized recently how little he knows. And she's saying it's too little too late, even though we have seen her do this incredible thing in bringing a serial abuser to justice and protecting a young woman who has already been harmed by him. And she is so badass in all of this, like the way that so when they get them the information from Richards and Wheeler and Richards, her old firm, with the return of Dr. Kane and D.B. Woodside, wearing the hell out of that suit. Woo, boy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like ZZ Top was onto something. Every girl crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
He looks so good in that.
Sharp-dressed man is D.B. Woodside.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
But what's amazing about that moment is, well, for one thing, she is okay with appearing insane, which is her
unstable. That's her biggest fear.
Unstable, biggest fear. And she's also giving her former lover, because if you remember, Ben Wheeler was her lover right when the goddess took over her body. She's giving him good advice. It's something she knows he's not going to hear. She's saying that there are consequences for what you're doing here. Please know that there are consequences, and please start making changes before it's too late. And that's actually really good advice that I know Ben Wheeler is incapable of hearing. But the fact that she used that as her distraction is also like compassionate and badass.
Yeah, because it could have been other ways. She could have just yelled.
There's so many things. Yeah, she could have just yelled at him.
Called
she could have been like, "I miss you, baby." Yeah, like there are so many things that she could have done with that distraction, and they could have been ego preserving ways that she could have used that distraction. She did not. She went for what was going to cause a scene and what was going to get information out there. So even if Ben Wheeler didn't hear it, everyone in the office heard it.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's another thing, even if she can't get through to him. I mean, it's the reason why I sometimes argue with people on the internet. It's not for the person I'm arguing with, it's
Right,
for the person who are listening
right, right,
or who are
right,
lurking and watching.
right.
And so that's amazing. And then when she confronts Forrest Clay, that's his name, right?
Yep.
Forrest Clay. And I can't, he didn't spell it that way, but first name Forrest, I'm just like, you name for the KKK Grand Wizard? Is that what your name is? Because ew. If you don't know Nathan Bedford Forrest, who is the reason why Forrest Gump is named Forrest, which is anyway. So when she confronts him, like she is like ice in her veins. And even when he gets his current girlfriend Mia like with the knife to her throat, she's scared for Mia, but she continues to maintain that calm. And it's like that's all that type A success was built on, at like building to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, and I just God, I want to be Charlotte Richards when I grow up in that episode. I don't want to die at the end. And even the fact that the reason she dies is because she jumps in front of a Menadil, because not because he's an angel, not because he's God's son, but because he's her friend.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they have a real connection,
Right.
and she doesn't want something bad to happen to him. And I'm tearing up.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah, the whole death scene is really I cried watching it again, even though I knew it was coming. Like Trisha Helfer did an amazing job in that, like sort of the pain and the whatever and the fear and the don't leave me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The one like thing that I'm overthinking is that I think the angle that she intercepted, like there would have been an exit wound and Neil still would have taken a bullet. I think. Maybe they were far enough. I don't know. Maybe Pierce was far enough away. I don't actually know a whole lot about ballistics. I just like, or anything. But I just, unfortunately, just from reading the news, know that, sometimes like the teacher who tried to shield their students and the students still, like those things, unfortunately, I know from just reading the news. So anyway, I'm willing to give it because it was important storytelling moment that she took the bullets for him, but I did have an overthinking moment with it like that right there. So
there is one thing that I also want to mention about that scene before Pierce shows up, is when she's saying like, yes, we got Forrest Clay, but it's too little too late. He hurt all of those other women. And I got goosebumps when Amenadiel said, but he's never going to hurt another person again. And you are responsible for that. You are responsible for making sure that he can't hurt anyone ever again. And we can't ask for more than that. And that gets a little bit into, like we talk a lot about the parallels with The Good Place. One of my favorite moments in The Good Place is when they quote, oh gosh, is it Tolstoy? He's like, the only time we have is now. It's the only time we have power.
I don't know who said it, but
it's Russian. Now is the only time that matters. It's the only time we have any power. And I really appreciate that, because like it is counterproductive, not useless, but counterproductive to ruminate on what happened in the past, or worry about what's coming in the future. Just in the now, with the information you have now, with the abilities you have now, doing what you can to make things right is all that we can ask of ourselves or anyone else. And I got like literally like goosebumps, like hair standing up on my arms, because I was just like, I need to hear this. I love this message, particularly since I can completely comprehend Charlotte's overwhelm. And she's not overwhelmed at her own prospects of going to hell. It's more she's thinking about all those women who were hurt in
Mm-hmm.
between when Joanne Foley was killed and now.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like I'm imagining like the guy who went down for Joanne Foley's death. Oh my God, his story is heartbreaking. Um,
Yeah.
so that is
Yeah.
just
You know,
amazing.
I think it is. I also was moved by that exchange. And I actually want to draw out specifically that Amenadiel didn't just say he won't hurt anyone else. He said he won't hurt another woman. And the gendered piece of it actually feels significant to me
Mm-hmm.
because the way that this villain was portrayed was very much a gendered, misogynist, sexist, like
Yes.
it was misogyny specifically
Mm-hmm.
in his um in
His
his
MO.
in his villainy, not
Mm-hmm.
just villainy, but a specifically gendered and misogynistic
Mm-hmm.
villainy. And so the fact that Amenadiel actually named it that way, that he won't hurt another woman because you did that, like, for me at least, that actually mattered.
It does, and it also kind of hits with something. There are times when there are problems that we need to face that we I feel like certain people are uniquely suited to. So and Charlotte is uniquely suited to
Yes.
this.
Yep. As a
Um,
very powerful woman who has sort of in typical, in typical societal standards, sort of male energy with the power that
mhm,
she um, commands.
mhm,
So yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm
mhm.
going to move us along because I know we have a hard stop and we
Yeah.
have a lot of things to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. Okay. Should we talk about Lucifer and Chloe next?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because those are often the things that I think people remember about these episodes.
definitely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I think as we've said before, like in the rewatch with the savoring, like noticing different things, the creepiness of him trying to recreate their greatest hits like
mhm,
really came through more strongly for
mhm,
me in
mhm,
this more savoring of these episodes. Like it was weird and cute and quirky in my
mhm,
memory. There's
mhm,
very little cute about it
mhm.
in this rewatch. It's
The only
just
one that doesn't make me like, yeah, and even like the first watch, because I'm as we've mentioned, I'm very like if anyone is ever going to die of embarrassment, if embarrassment is ever going to be a fatality, that will be me. And the only one that I don't feel that way about is when he's playing piano. As the only one where I'm just like, okay, that's kind of cute. I like, recreating that. Everything else is like, oh, please stop, please stop. It hurts. Stop, stop, stop.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, and I actually was grateful for Trixie's
Mm-hmm.
voice to be like, yeah, mom's right. This is weird. It's
Yeah.
not fun. It's not fun. Like I was grateful for her voice there. Um, and then in terms of like their interaction, like we see some important realizations from each of them in these two, right? When
Mm-hmm.
Chloe says out loud, I said yes because of Lucifer. I said yes to Pierce because of Lucifer. And I also said no because of Lucifer. Like
Mm-hmm.
saying that out loud, like we've seen her desire him, want more. We have seen that, but it's been something that she seems to have been afraid to actually speak out loud, I
Mm-hmm.
think, in the
Mm-hmm.
past. But she does say it in this episode, which I think is really interesting and significant and powerful given the totality of these two episodes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the realization that he has when he shows up at the scene at Forrest Clay's house and says to her, like, you caught two killers and didn't have my help, which means you have chosen me because you don't need
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yeah.
which is just exactly the right kind of pathos to
Yeah.
just absolutely melt.
Just puddle.
Yes,
And
complete puddle.
the other thing that I found myself thinking about was when he says, I can't show you. So all I can do is tell you, I am the devil. And like, she doesn't believe him, but she hears him, and the immediate acceptance.
The and the not to me with her hand on his cheek allows him to stop arguing with her, right? Because there's been this, like, I feel like where he started, I need to tell you. And then, you know, like, I feel like there could easily have been like, no, really, no, you have to believe me. But when she says not to me,
yeah,
and then with her hand on his cheek, it just, it just softens it and allows it to be true, even though it is also true that he's the devil. Like, I don't, there was something really just so sweet.
Well, it reminded me again of how I feel like intentionally and unintentionally, the show plays with the idea of him, of him being the devil as a metaphor for mental illness. So when, like, if he were to, like, trying to be like, look, I'm bad news. I'm like, you know, you don't want to get involved with me because I'm schizophrenic or I have bipolar disorder or anything like that. I'm not an okay person. And she says, not to me, you know, and that's that kind of acceptance is lovely, and exactly what you would want to see from someone who reveals a trauma, whether it's a mental illness or, like, I have known individuals who have experienced serious trauma, particularly as children, who internalize it as, and that means I'm bad. And so to be able to say, like, this doesn't change anything. You are who you are to me. And that's just, it's lovely. And I think part of the reason why I see on, like, Reddit, a lot of people talking about how, like, this show got me through serious depression and, like, this show helped me figure out ways to accept myself. And I'm like, of course it did. You know? It's amazing. And that scene is one of the things that's so poignant about it is that, well, I mean, first of all, there's Tom Ellis, who we can never get enough of how good an actor he is. But he can't show her his true face, as in his devil face, but he is showing her his true face emotionally.
I didn't think of this before. This is not in my notes, but the other thing that's kind of interesting about that scene, when she says not, like, she's like wearing crazy clothes because she's been up for 2 days. And, like, she's just like, what? So, just, there's something wild and, like, atypical about her energy in that moment too. Like, thinking about mental illness or things that we sort of trauma or things that we don't share. Like, she is also in a wild state in a way. Like, she's working through it. She just caught another bad guy, but she's in a totally wild state. And they made sure we saw that with the multiple jackets that don't make any sense together, and the hair and the whatever.
Well, that was something I noticed, because well, I noticed ponytails a lot because I'm always trying for that slick ponytail where it's not so tight that I feel like it looks like I'm a bunhead and trying to dance. but slick, so it's not like Bernie Sanders, like, tendrils coming out. So, like, I notice her hair quite a bit, and like, that's very much shows, like, okay, I just pulled it back in something and got it. And then the next episode, you see her, like, when she's completely in control, her hair is tied back,
and she's back in her uniform of, like, skinny jeans and a shell and a jacket. You know, and her hair is, anyway, that was like I didn't see that on the way, but and also when she's in her back in her uniform, not literal, she also says, like, enough with the metaphors, even though she was just so like, there's definitely, like, we're seeing, you know, there are clues of how she's going to react, or, you know, sort of her mental state and openness. And then that leads into my most rewatched scene of the entire 6 seasons. It's like, I have to remind myself that they were in front of a green screen.
I know.
So let's say Tom Ellis does not, in case anyone's confused, have wings
that are very painfully being
painfully shot. Yeah. Just so good. So convenient that the bullet knocked Chloe out again. Like she conveniently is
Okay,
unconscious.
I have been
It's sort of
overthinking
like
it.
it's sort of like Snuffleupagus in Sesame Street when we were kids. I know the grown-ups see him now, but when we were kids, nobody could see
Nobody
him
saw him.
except
Yeah.
except for Big Bird.
Okay. I have to. Okay. What happened to the bullet? Did her bullet necklace stop the bullet?
No, she was wearing Kevlar.
She was.
Yeah.
Okay, that wasn't clear to me and
Yeah,
has
yeah.
never been clear
When
to me.
he's like, he sort of goes to touch the bullet and there's no blood and she pulls her blouse down, she's
Oh,
wearing
okay.
Kevlar.
That's
And
Kevlar.
the
Okay.
bullet's in the, which is a little bit
Okay.
unbelievable. I went to high school with the woman who is now the chief of police of Baltimore County. And so there were a couple
Hyatt
times,
represent.
right?
She's pretty awesome.
She is pretty awesome. And so there
And she's
were,
like 4 feet tall and like a badass.
she's a little taller than that, but she is a badass. But anyway, what she came, we ran into each other professionally while I was working at the museum. She was still in Baltimore City and she was wearing a bulletproof vest under her, you know, like white button men's style shirt. And like, I knew she was wearing a vest because it's like,
Well, and that's what, like, as many times as I've seen that scene, I've never understood what stopped the bullet because it's not clear to me that that's Kevlar. So
I think it's meant, I think maybe there is body armor that's less bulky than what
bulky, yeah.
what my former high school classmate was wearing that day.
Mhm.
But I think that's one of those things I just have to like, just go with it, Trace.
Just go with it.
Just
Yeah,
go with it
just go.
because
But let's talk about that scene.
Yeah. That scene. So like badass Chloe stands in front of
Saying
Lucifer.
you're gonna have to shoot me.
Yeah. I don't want to die and I can't before I stop you, and then shoots him. Like, God bless, with like, you know, 15, 20 guys with guns pointed at them. Amazing. Amazing. She's amazing. And then this is an overthinking moment that like still bothers me to this day. The wings come out to protect, and all those goons continue to shoot at the angel that they're looking at, right? Like, and way back in the beginning, we saw that the wings like made people go crazy because it was proof of divinity. And I've done some, you know, mental furniture rearranging. Those wings came directly from God. These were self-actualized. So that's maybe why they're not quite as powerful, but still.
There's no hesitation. Like, what excuse me, what just happened?
I just have a hard time that even these like hardened criminals wouldn't be like, boss, maybe we shouldn't shoot an angel. I
mean, he does at one point, says, go on, shoot. Like he does, like,
he says, finish it. That's before the wings have come out.
Oh, okay.
That's when the bullets have been exchanged between Pierce and Chloe. And she falls back and Lucifer's holding her. He's like, how is this happening? This can't be happening. Lucifer says that. And Pierce says, finish it. While he's like down on the stairs. And then the wings come out to protect her. And I don't know. It bothers me. Although on this rewatch, because I had that in mind, when Pierce talks to the bald guy who ends up getting captured, and the guy says, glad you're back, and whatever, they have that whole thing, and the goon, the minion, says, never seen you scared before. Like, maybe they know? Which I don't know. But that little piece does bother me a little bit.
But the acting, like you feel like Tom Ellis is actually in agonizing pain. And emotional pain. Because he's afraid that she's dead. And like between that and then when he comes through the window with the wings, oh my God,
with that
bloody wings,
with that Dead Weather song playing, that used to be on my workout. That was on my workout mix for a while, so I know that song really, really well. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't remember this. Badass song too.
Yeah.
Treat me like your mother. Anyway,
let's talk about Pierce for a minute. Um, so I think I was telling you before we started recording that I wish they had shown some of how dangerous he was while he and Chloe were together, because I think that would have been a richer vein for storytelling than the straight love triangle, because the love triangle was just about jealousy.
and
It was not about,
it never quite,
it never gelled.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the word.
Whereas particularly like once Dan learns that Pierce is a center man, and then Chloe's like, I almost married him. Um, that level of like menace from him would have been a much richer and more interesting topic, I think, than just the straight jealousy. Because like I'd be okay with the jealousy was there, but
Also,
if we're a little bit more cognizant of how dangerous he was, because he, and now some of that I can see, because the way they write Celestials, they just don't get it when it comes to that sort of thing. And because Lucifer and Pierce do have that odd connection with each other,
a sort of frenemy thing going on.
yeah, but then that again would be the more interesting love triangle.
I agree.
So
I said that before, but you know, also though, in defense of our storytelling, I mean, it could have been interesting sort of in the dramatic irony sense that as viewers we would be seeing his
duplicity,
yeah, while it was happening. In defense of our showrunners, like I wonder if it would have changed the way we felt about Chloe if during the romance we genuinely felt more strongly that she was being duped.
Yeah.
Which I think would not be desirable from sort of the showrunner perspective.
Story part. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It does make it clear, like when she calls him and he's saying, I do love you. It makes it much more clear how incapable of love he is, because what he thinks of as love is clearly not.
I mean, the fact that he could be like like he shot her and was like, finish it. No,
finish it. Yeah. Well, even the fact that he was like the fact that he was willing to shoot this person that she cares about deeply in front of her, I cannot imagine being okay with that when it's not, a system of like where someone is actually, I mean, a situation where someone's actually posing a credible danger,
right?
Right. There are times when I can see that happening and it being
justifiable.
Even then it would be justifiable, but even then it would be wrenching. Like I know I'm hurting this person I love. So yeah, it's I did appreciate that Chloe was convinced, because he pretended to tear up over Charlotte.
Yep.
And she's like, that's not him. So she does know him well enough to know, like, that's just not how he operates. It's not how he shows emotion, nothing.
Yeah.
We don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to make sure we talk about Dan and Maze.
Agreed. Really quickly though, because I think this is like the Redditors, the thing that you pointed out, the dying scene, Pierce's dying scene. The conversation between the two of them implies the question that you see on Reddit all the time, like, what about people who genuinely have no remorse? Do they in fact go to heaven?
Do they go to heaven because they don't feel bad?
Yeah. And there seems to be an implication of that, but I think
because when like Pierce knows he's dying, he says, well, I still don't feel bad about anything I did, so I'm going to go to heaven. And Lucifer says, oh, you feel it deep down. And so there's
and the message that our showrunners were giving us with that was that there is this deep understanding between these two people, that they are mirrors in a certain way.
Well, and it happens immediately because Lucifer,
even while he's saying it, his eyes have started. So that is the point that they were making, and then inadvertently they made this other point, this other cosmological point, which I still think that you are right, that there is at least room within the cosmology that they've created that someone who
a Hitler or
yeah
a
or
Pol Pot,
right would not in fact end up in heaven despite having no
no remorse
right
whatsoever.
right
It's and I think that was a specific, like, I'm talking to you, Kane, not
exactly
this is how it works.
yeah
Yeah.
agreed all right, so
So
now let's talk about Dan and Maze.
yes. So poor Dan and poor Charlotte, they got 1 week together.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's about how long it has to have been since the last episode. Um, they really do care about each other. You can tell that she cares about him because he's shown up in her hell loop.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say something also about her poor children are going to be very traumatized by the loss of their mother after having lost her in another way, because she
Multiple
was
times.
multiple times. Yeah. And this is the only time we see her, Charlotte as herself with her children, is in this hell loop, and we don't even know if she's gotten to see them since she's been back in her own body.
Right.
But so it's just that it's heartbreaking. I love that Charlotte's wearing the
The
waffle
waffle bracelet.
which is so goofy and so Dan and sweet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what I like about it is that, because everyone's like, you sure about that in terms of the gifts? I'm like, I guess so. Whereas they really like each other for who they are. She likes that he's a goofball and he's the waffle king, and he likes that she is, so hard driving and who she is. And so I really appreciate that it's showing that, like, you don't have to pretend to be anyone other than who you are for the person who really loves you.
Yeah.
Just a reiteration of that. And then the way that he is responding and acting all throughout The Devil of My Word is so relatable. Like, every aspect of it is so relatable that he's like, I have to work. I'm like, I totally get that.
Yep.
And even when Pierce is like, I'd be in the same position. So that's fine. Just
Yeah.
that he's barely holding on to his anger, and needs other people redirect him when his anger is getting them more in a position where bad things could happen. But then it just and then thinking about the fact that immediately end of this episode, we know that one of the emotional supports, two of his main emotional supports, are going to go away for a month, his ex-wife and his daughter. And so he's going to be dealing with this awful heartbreak and anger and sense of betrayal.
And Amenadiel's not back yet.
Oh, and Amenadiel, you're right. 3 of his main emotional supports. It's just poor Dan.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And what a character arc he's had, because we met him as a corrupt cop.
Yeah.
And here he is now as someone we're rooting for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and Maze.
Oh my goodness. So I said I felt like she stopped spiraling when she's trying to, like, catfish, or I don't know if you'd call it that, but trick Amenadiel. But he immediately gives her a hug and says, I will always be there for you. And you were saying it's more of a pause rather than a stop of the spiraling.
Or slow down or something. Because I feel like I feel like when she believes Linda is in danger, that's the true shift.
Yeah. I think it's she finally starts to understand that people do see her.
Yeah.
And not just the demon.
Well, part of her spiral is that she felt she had nothing on Earth, which is why she wanted to go back to hell. And so having Amenadiel say and show in, like, by embracing her, that she actually does have at least something on Earth.
Yes.
I think that was what the sort of pattern interrupt was. And then the idea that she could lose Linda.
Like and in a forever kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing that she was at least in part responsible, because of her, and because if Pierce had in fact threatened Linda, it would have been to get to Maze. So yeah.
I will say, maybe this is fluff, but when Linda says, "You look like you fought 10 people and ran a mile,"
and she says,
and like, you don't need to say it, and she's like, "It was 12 people and 4 miles."
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I considered myself a runner, but I'm like, a mile's not that far.
I mean, in what she's wearing after fighting 10 people.
True. But I also appreciate Maze saying, like, actions are easy for me. I need to say the words because they're hard.
That was really that was powerful dialogue, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I think that like that I need to be brave in the way that's brave for me. That was, I mean, to your point about this helping people, like that sort of knowing where your bravery is as opposed to what that felt really, really powerful and important to me. Yeah. All right, so we're out of time.
Yes.
I'm gonna
name a
name
couple fluffs.
All right, I'm just gonna quickly name that it was really fun to be faked out with Ella and the phone by the stories, by the writers. Like I was faked out. I was like, wait, I didn't remember Ella betraying them.
So yeah, it's because she didn't.
Because she didn't. Yeah, that was really, really fun and well done. And Amy Garcia nailed it, and the writers nailed it. Well done. That's my little fluff.
Yes.
What you got?
Okay. So Chloe is a little bit all disheveled because she stayed up all night working on the Forest Clay thing. Then they get Forest Clay. She's having the conversation. So she's been up for 24 hours
at least
or more at that point. Yeah, it's like 36 at that point. Charlotte dies. The next episode we see, it's the morning,
and she's still wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, so Chloe's been up for 2 days straight, and then they have everything that happens, and it's like another night and morning where we see she has not gone to bed. So she has been awake. Now, it's one of those where like I would be babbling nonsense. Like I'm not capable of being awake for 72 hours straight. Just can't do it. Now, to be fair, that also speaks to the mindset she's in.
Yeah, and the adrenaline.
Yeah. So that to me is it was just interesting because I didn't notice it first couple of times I've watched these episodes, but I definitely was just like, did she catch a nap somewhere? Because she's got to be exhausted.
Yeah.
So, and then one last thing, she mentioned what you said about the suits.
Yeah, and I have another quick thing if we can maybe make it happen. So yeah, last time in our last episode we talked about the suits. He starts these 2 episodes in a brown suit, which I don't like, but then he moves into the black suit with the white shirt and the red pocket square. Yeah. You were saying that there was a theory that was sort of his devilishness. And then you noted that he's trying to recreate their greatest hit. So of course that's why he's wearing the black suit with the red, which I really like. Well done. And then the other thing, so two other things, maybe I'll remember both of them. One is when at the crime scene the next day, when Lucifer finds the feather and then is telling Pierce, because we don't know yet. He doesn't know yet, and he's like, "There's this theory," but he doesn't actually say the word self-actualization. It's like, I backed it up and watched it again. I was like, he didn't actually finishes the thought.
Yeah.
Like maybe it ended on the cutting room floor because it's written as if Pierce understands what has been said. So that like bugged me a little bit. And I lost whatever the other thing was. So it was so fluffy, it just floated away.
It just you can't help the tendrils.
It just totally
tendrils.
It just totally floated away, and I'm like, darn. I'm disappointed.
You're gonna remember it as soon as we get off Zoom.
You're right. I totally am. Yeah, maybe I'll put
You
it
know,
in
you could do a coda where it's just you.
I
Just
could
like,
put it in the
hey, I
show
thought of
notes
it.
or something. It'll be fun.
I think that would be cool. A little
Yeah.
Easter egg for our 15 subscribers. We love you all. Thank you for subscribing. Okay, I'm a minute late for my next meeting, so I better get going.
Okay. See you next week.
See you next week.